South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham. So, Senator, you understand where we're coming from here. Do you think that we should have been plowing full steam ahead to bring Ukraine into NATO? Was that our strategy here, or what was the strategy?
Well, I think you're misreading the tea leaves with all due respect. Putin gave a speech last year where he said that Ukraine was a fiction. If you don't believe Putin wants to take the Ukraine and make it part of Russia, you're not listening to what he says.
No, I do.
Okay, well, Moldova's next. Hitler did this whole thing. People didn't believe he had the ambitions he had. He wanted to take over the world and kill all the Jews. Here's what Putin wants to do. He wants to recreate the Soviet Union. He thinks it was a low point in Russian history. In 1994, Jesse, the third largest nuclear nation on the planet was Ukraine. They signed an agreement with Russia, Great Britain, and the United States where they would give up their nuclear weapons with a promise by Russia to guarantee their sovereignty. Putin stepped all over that like Hitler did. So Putin's the bad guy. Biden's the incompetent guy, and I just want to say
well,
this.
I agree with that. Okay. And, you know, it was Bill Clinton that signed that deal to move those nuclear weapons out of Ukraine. If they had had nukes now, this would have been a different story. But do you think that American foreign policy should have been a little bit more delicate with Ukraine, maybe used a little more finesse and tried to keep it more as a buffer instead of just wrenching it out of Putin's hands and just bringing it right into NATO as aggressively as possible? Would that have changed things? Because now Americans are suffering, Ukraine is definitely suffering, and who knows where the hell this could go?
They had the same arguments about Hitler. Why don't we just give him the German-speaking portions surrounding, why don't we give him Austria? You got to understand who Putin is. Putin's not trying to have a buffer zone from NATO. He's trying to destroy the Ukraine and make it part of Russia. He's trying to recreate the Soviet Union to the best extent possible. And Taiwan is going to be given up if we think like this. I'm not going to let Putin control NATO. NATO is an independent organization. Nobody in NATO is going to invade Russia. But if you don't believe that Putin's ambitions are to reconstruct the greater Russia or the Soviet Union, you're missing what he's saying.
No, I do. I agree. Okay. And I think that's what his motivation is.
So
I'm just saying maybe that aggressive approach to Ukraine might have made things a little differently. I could be wrong.
Well,
I could be wrong.
Listen, I really like your show because you let people talk, number one, and you ask good questions. Here's where I think we made a mistake. We should have punched Putin in the nose when he had 100,000 troops on the border of Ukraine. We should have went after the oil and gas sector early on to maybe deter the invasion. At every moment, Biden appeased Putin, and here's what you have today. You have good people in the Ukraine fighting to the death for their freedom. You have the Russian army stalled. I think the Chinese are watching how we deal with Putin, so are the Iranians. So what happens in the Ukraine doesn't stay in the Ukraine. Let's help the Ukrainians fight back as hard as they can. Let's start destroying the ruble. You know why Biden went after Russian oil and gas? No change of heart, change in politics. Americans are pissed that we allowed Putin to get so reckless and so strong. Biden makes Chamberlain look like Churchill. So here's my view of this, and I said it on your show weeks ago. When it comes to bullies, stand up to him. Putin has a pair of twos. We have a full house. I want him to go. I want his regime to end. I hope people in Russia will take the bastard out. If we'd done this 20 years ago, we'd be a lot better off. What have we learned from history? The longer you let people go who murder, rape, steal, and plunder, you live to regret it. So now's the time to be all in to help the Ukrainian people fight for their own freedom. No boots on the ground, but we can turn the tide of battle. And we got to tell the Russian people, you will never have a normal life if you follow this guy Putin. We're going to destroy the Russian ruble, the Russian economy. And I'm hoping somebody in Russia will step up to the plate and do what they should have done in Germany.
I got to get your answer on this, Senator. The Poles sending MiGs to us in Germany, it seems like they're forcing our hand a little bit. What do you think about that? And also, are you for a no-fly zone?
I'm not for a no-fly zone. You know, one of the things you've been talking about, World War III is not going to happen because of this engagement. But what could happen is that China could take Taiwan and Iran could see our weakness and try to get a nuclear weapon. That could start a nuclear arms race in the Mideast. I'm all for the MiGs going from Germany back into the Ukraine. Let the Ukrainian pilots come to Germany, fly them back into the Ukraine and take the fight to the Russians. This is a defining moment in European history. It's a defining moment in American history. Putin can't determine who's in NATO, and Putin doesn't want to stop NATO. He wants to reconstruct the Soviet Union and the Russian imperial life. And we got a chance here to deliver a fatal blow to Putin. The best chance in 20 years, and God bless the Ukrainian people for having the guts to fight for their freedom.
All right, we'll see how it plays out. Senator Lindsey Graham, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.